You're watching 12 News at 6.
A Sedgwick County Sheriff's deputy at the center of a Wichita police investigation accused of improperly closing cases in the exploited and missing children and internet crimes against children units.
Tonight, fact finders speaking with the defense attorney about the risk of alleged mishandled cases and the challenges there could now be to investigate those. Investigator Dylan Domang joins us with more. Dylan?
Mike, Rachel, there's still a lot we don't know about the investigation, why those cases were closed. What we do know is that this is a criminal investigation, but defense attorney Dan Monett says if child abuse cases were not thoroughly investigated and closed properly, a risk is that evidence such as drug testing, DNA, or video footage could have become lost, destroyed, or even overwritten.
Two worst extremes from that are, one, real child predators or child abusers go uncharged, and two, innocent people become wrongfully accused.
The Sedgwick County Sheriff's detective under investigation is accused of mishandling cases in both the exploited and missing children and internet crimes against children units within a 5-year time frame from 2019 to 2024. Defense attorney Dan Monett says while these cases span from years ago, they can still be charged.
Kansas, in fact, has almost no statute of limitations on child sex abuse or child abuse, and the ones that it does have are so long that actually any of these cases that occurred during that time could be resurrected and reopened.
Wichita police created a hotline for anyone to come forward who believes the sheriff's detective did not properly investigate their case. Monett says there may be those out there that have been waiting years for an update, but added that finding those involved could be difficult for investigators.
Witnesses become harder and harder to find, and their memories become harder and harder to rely on.
And Monett also tells me that because this is a criminal investigation and not just an internal review, law enforcement may know something to believe that the cases being closed improperly were more than just an accident. That Sedgwick County Sheriff's detective is currently on paid administrative leave. Anyone with questions or concerns about specific cases that occurred between 2019 and 2024 is asked to call the hotline number you see there on your screen. Just be sure to provide the case number and your contact information.